I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The city of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure of the meeting recording process is posted in the meeting room. Any citizen may address the council regarding items included on the meeting agenda and are asked to complete and hand in a speaker card to the clerk. Presenters shall approach the podium, state their name and address for the clerk's record, and are asked to limit remarks to 5 minutes. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. The city of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Please call the roll.
Taylor.
Here.
Coulterman.
Present.
Streisand. Here. Tanyas.
Here.
Singleton.
Here.
Horgan.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Franciscato.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
All right, thank you. We have 2 items this evening for the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Franciscato, Taylor, Tanyas, Coulterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Horgan, 8-0.
All right, thank you. Under administrative items, item number 1, consideration of an emergency purchase by the electric department to rebuild electric infrastructure damaged by the March 19th, 2025 blizzard disaster. Are you doing this?
Sure.
Welcome.
Go, Jared.
Jared Eckstein, City Sewer Electrical Superintendent. On March 19th, 2025, a severe snowstorm caused significant damage to our electrical infrastructure. Mayor Eichmeyer declared an emergency proclamation, and later a disaster declaration was declared by President Trump. Locally, a section of one transmission line located north of Augusta Drive between Flower Tower Substation and 14th Street Substation was lost. As a result, our system no longer has a loop fee supplying Water Tower Sub and 2nd Street substations, reducing the system's reliability and redundancy. To address this issue, Olson Associates was engaged to develop a comprehensive rebuild plan, including pole framing, design, pole span layouts, sagging charts, and a detailed material list. The affected section of line was heavily obstructed with trees and brush, which needed to be cleared to allow the trucks access for reconstruction. The old line has since been removed and a 30-foot right-of-way has been cleared. Due to the critical importance of restoration of the damaged line, I reached out to Great Plains Power regarding a quote for this rebuild. Great Plains Power submitted a bid of $108,465 for material labor to complete the rebuild. They informed us that we were finishing a project in Fairbury and potentially we win our job before starting another job in Plainview, Nebraska. If not scheduled immediately, the next available opportunity would be after completion of the Plainview project, which is estimated to take about 2 months. So due to the emergency nature of restoring the transmission redundancy and maintaining system reliability, I recommend that we accept this quote to proceed the project as per section 11 of the purchasing policy. Any questions regarding?
Thanks, Jared. Any questions or comments from the council?
I'll just note, this was an identified expense in the information that we submitted to NEMA as part of our disaster declaration and as part of the anticipation of total cost, including debris removal, tree cleanups, things like that. And so this is the final emergency project that we'll have that we'll submit to the state. Our bid, this does come in our normal buying and purchasing procedures. Normally in the electric department, we would only bid things over 120,000. So this comes in underneath that due to the emergency nature of trying to get that redundancy back into the system over there with the first available crew that's available. That's why we asked this tonight. So. And thanks again to Jared and his crew and everybody out there that cleaned that mess up and responded so well back in March. That was a big item.
What's on the second page with the 24,585? Should those be totaled together?
That is including that 24,000, that's
So is it that plus the 108,
No,
or
it's
it's all included
it's-
inside of it? Okay.
Yeah, included.
Any other questions or comments, or I entertain a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Taylor, Tanya, Colton, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you, Jerry. Item 2, consideration of a resolution to enter into a loan agreement with the Nebraska Department of Water, Energy and Environment, NDWEE, in the amount of $15,500,000 for the wastewater treatment plant improvements project. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, and good evening. So a couple of city council meetings ago, we approved a resolution for a loan roughly in the amount of $38 million for construction of the wastewater treatment plant. We didn't have in that estimate the improvements necessary for taking sewage from the new dairy LLC processing plant. We had since gotten a revised estimate from SEH, our design engineer. That new estimated construction total, project total, I should say, $50,347,000. NDE has bumped that up, rounded it up to $50,500,000. There's still some uncertainty because that has not yet been designed. And so it's more just conceptual, so a little more uncertainty than the previous estimate. Under that $50,500,000, $40,000 is the estimated construction cost with a $4 million contingency. That's for inflation or items not identified yet at this stage. And so $44,000 we think will be for construction, so the $50,500,000 is comfortably above that. What makes up the difference? There's engineering, there's bond acquisition costs, there's administrative costs and other things that push that up a little bit higher. So with that, I think the $50,500,000, we don't have to take it all. We simply take the amount that we could borrow. If it ends up being a little bit higher, we do have a sinking fund, so the excess from the rates, we've been steadily increasing rates. We've been going into that fund. We also have $1 million, what used to be called an earmark, through Congressman Flood, through US Congress coming. So we have other ways to make up a little bit more, should it fall slightly short. We have very favorable terms. The reason this is coming back is that with the previous resolution, the NDE administrator was on vacation. We couldn't get the paperwork signed before June 30th. Today, June 1st, marks the first day. They have a brand new name. So it's Nebraska Department of Water, Energy and Environment. And so we had to redo all of the paperwork, and that's why we have the same, similar promissory note here, an attachment that was in your package, and a brand new total. So we're borrowing effectively the whole amount. So asking for your permission, again, to approve this SRF funding agreement with NDWEE.
Thanks, Mike. Greg?
Mike, just to jump on that, at our last meeting, we had Colin here from SEH.
Yes,
We
yes.
approved the design for this facility.
Correct, indeed, yes.
And
indeed.
so they're off and running on designing, doing the final design at this estimated cost. So we've already kind of started work on this, but this is the formality of recouping and preparing for the approximate 1.4% loan that we'll get.
And if we get this paperwork signed this evening, get it to NDWEE and signed before the 15th of July, then we take advantage of the existing rate of 1.4%. That rate will increase after July 15th by near 2%. So I don't know exactly what that number is.
Yeah.
So over 30 years, that's substantial savings, right, over time. And so we're kind of rushing to get this all in place. And there's kind of a jumble of different things that have occurred at the same time that kind of caused us to take a few extra steps.
Any questions or comments from the council? Rich?
Is it fair to say, Mike, that the reason for the additional funds is largely due to the fact that we'll have the dairy processing added into the wastewater processing?
It is somewhat. However, because of the original design, we decided that our tankage should be a certain limit, and would be expandable at some future date. Had we known this at the very beginning, 2 years ago, we would have designed probably a bigger basin than, 3 basins larger than now the 4th, and because of other issues, we have had to take our future upgrade and implement it now. So we actually have some extra tankage for the future, which we anticipate using over time, but we're forced to pay for that up front, right? So, a big spec.
Matt?
I just wanted to ask about the design engineering charges and stuff. Is there, because of the changes, is there just money lost that we've already paid for as far as with final design with SEH?
I'm sure there's some overlap. Had we known this a couple years ago, we could have probably been a little bit more efficient on that design. So we approved, I think at the last city council meeting, $1.1 million increase in that design budget. We were with a couple change orders already up to 1.8 million. We are doing extra things. We're doing a metering manhole for Gary. We're actually doing temporary treatment for the time between when they will be online and the time we'll have the new wastewater treatment plant, wastewater plant online. There's a gap. And so there are additional costs, but we're not using anything of the original design, but we're reorienting it. So in some cases we had what's called the WAS tank, waste activated sludge. We had it at the end of a building. Now we need 2 of those, so it no longer fits at the end of the building. We take that same design and we double it and we move it over to another location. It's not exactly losing that design value, but it is increasing the cost of designing that particular. We probably could have designed both tanks for the price of designing the one, as an example. So there's incremental extra costs involved.
Is there any TIF money that we can, since we approved the TIF at the last council meeting, can we use any of the TIF money towards this project?
We typically, we don't typically hold back TIF on projects. That's always an option. Some communities do that. Some communities will say, okay, you qualify for 8 million, but we're only gonna give you this much, and then they hold back some to help pay for stuff. It's more of a philosophical decision by different governing bodies. We've typically been giving the full amount for the most part, minus the fees and other expenses, of course, but we don't typically hold it back. Cause that would have to be negotiated in the very beginning, because I think when you're looking at a potential project, they're looking at other sites, and at least in Nebraska, most other communities are going to have TIF available. So you do have to be a little bit careful on negotiating that, and of course other states have they have similar programs to TIF, but they have completely different rules. Like for example, our TIF in Nebraska, you have to have qualifying expenses. Some states basically just give you a check. So that's kind of what you're up against on the competitive side of that. So the short answer to your question is we don't have anything collected that we would be able to utilize from that particular project and the TIF money that's being allocated to it.
As far as the rates with dairy and stuff, that's all been discussed, as far as what their projected wastewater rates are gonna be.
Yep.
Yeah, now, part of the challenge, and Mike talks about this as well, is right now it's all numbers on paper. And so part of the challenge is trying to build it out to accommodate them, but the numbers versus what actually ends up sometimes can vary quite a bit. We ran into, I think even like with Pet Source, I think the estimated energy use was way higher initially than what they actually use, and that's nothing nefarious. It's just they're just guessing on some of these numbers, trying to figure out how much electricity they're going to use, and a lot of it depends on how quickly they ramp up, and when they're at their capacity, what does that number actually look like? So there is some wiggle room on some of those numbers, but for the most part, we try, which is why we want these proposals to really sharpen their pencils the best they can to give us their best numbers, because we don't want to overbuild something and then you have excess capacity for an extended period of time. That's kind of hard, because obviously that infrastructure is aging during that time, but you don't want to have too little capacity and then you're back at the drawing board in 5 years having to do an expansion project. So trying to find that sweet spot is part of the challenge that we have with our city staff, working with the project staff as well, to figure out where that middle ground is. So,
I understand fully. I've had these conversations with Jared in the past, and he probably wonders why we don't have every welder on all day long, all the time, right? So, yeah, no, I understand what you're talking about. Thank you.
yeah, any other questions or comments from the council? Otherwise, it's a resolution, so I just ask someone to introduce the resolution when you're ready.
I'll introduce the resolution.
Alright, the resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2025-24. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis, Scott, Taylor, Tanya, Coulter, Miller, Singleton, Stressi, Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 3, consideration of a change order with Broken Arrow Excavating LLC for the wastewater treatment facility improvements soil surcharge project in the amount of $70,821.50. Mike,
Yes,
go ahead. Welcome back.
thank you so much. So this is work that's been completed. We have just gotten paperwork from the contractor requesting payment on this. The first two items, 4A and 6A, they are the bid price from the contractor. We found, when we first started the project, we took off the topsoil, we found some debris. They actually did not charge us to remove the concrete, whatever was abandoned there and buried ultimately in the past, right? You can't see it anymore, so it was not part of the project. That portion they removed as part of their total cost, but we did have them take out an extra foot of excavation. So we took out an extra foot of soil, and then, of course, then they had to put in the good structural fill. This is where the new tankage for the SBR, the sequencing batch reactor that'll do most of the biological treatment work of the sewage plant, the new plant, will sit on. And in lieu of putting piles in, it's much cheaper. Our soil wasn't so bad that they were preloading it with that project. And so this is a slight change to that project, increase in the amount of work the contractor did, still at the bid price, but highly recommended so that we ensure the integrity of that several $million tank that'll be built on this site on top of it. The third item, 29A, the plans called for a rather simple connection for the storm sewer, the existing storm sewer. It was routed underneath where this new tank would go. We didn't want the storm sewer at any point inaccessible under a tank, so we had it moved to the side. Fortunately, when they uncovered, there was a lot more work involved, and so we worked out this price with the contractor to complete the storm sewer as required, based on what we found once it was dug up. And so that amount was $20,000. So totally $70,821.50. They're down to their last couple of tasks. They got to cover it with a poly on the surface, and then they monitor it for 6 months over time. Just monitor how much that soil settles under the weight of that 15-foot embankment that was built. Brings the new total from $506,600 up to $577,421.50. So I ask council's approval on this change order for the project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alright, we have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion?
So Mike, with these SBRs, does that with this last change in planning for dairy, does that enlarge that original footprint that we were?
It's part of why we would have selected, had we known 2 years ago, a larger tank. So we'd always planned on designing for 3 for the current design,
Right.
and then a 4th tank for the future. And so what it is now, it's still those 4, and the 3rd tank was an aerobic digester, and then that's getting moved to a brand new structure. This is planned for the future, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, and we're doing that now. So the tank stays the same, but instead of 3 basins in the short run with 1, a digester, we're using them all 4 for this project. And we're building a brand new structure for now 2 aerobic digesters. Should we need to, like in phase 2 of dairy, should we need to increase again, that'd be a whole different agreement, then we'd end up building probably 2 SBRs at a time in a new location. So we have that location planned. And then we build them 2 and then 4, and you know, if Seward were to continue to be prosperous and grow, that's how these are expended. So the advantage of an SBR is that it's easily modularly increased in size to what you need. So in some plants where you have a big, huge tank, it gets much more difficult, much more expensive.
So with this surcharging, we don't need, it'll fit with what's gonna
It
be
will-
happening.
it will
We don't
fit.
need to expand
We
it.
don't need to expand it. It's a very, very good question, yes.
That was my main thing, if we charge it all and then have to expand it and charge it
Correct,
again,
correct.
it doesn't make sense.
Alright, any other discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francis, Scott, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Miller, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 4, consideration of a construction contract worth $1,855,911.88 and issuance of a notice to proceed to N.E. Collins Contracting Company Incorporated for the Worthing Boulevard Extension Project. Mike?
Thank you. So, at the first council meeting of June, we approved the notice of award to Emmy Collins for the Worthman Boulevard Extension. This is essentially the paving project, includes the sanitary sewer as well as the storm sewer. Of course, the water main is a separate project that's already underway. With that, this was the second low, so with that, we now have the paperwork in place. They've complied with all the requirements of the contract. They've submitted a performance bond, a payment bond, certificate of liability. And so with approval of this agreement, we're able to complete that contract and issue a notice to proceed and get that, that project and that roadway built.
Alright, thanks, Mike. Any questions or comments from the council?
Reminder, a good portion of this project will be paid for out of our EOP and DOT grant and our CDBG grant that we're in partnership with Dairy for both of those as economic development projects. Those will total out to, I believe, close to 1.7, 1.6 million.
Alright, any other questions or comments from the council? Alright, a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francis, Scott, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 5, consideration of approval of a change order with McGuire Iron for the 500,000-gallon water tower project. Welcome back, Mike.
Thank you. So this change order is for a nominal amount, $2,150. Exclusively, that is for temporary fencing to be reinstalled. It'll be installed Wednesday, tomorrow, around the water tower site, essentially for purposes of keeping visitors from walking onto areas that might be unsafe and hazardous. Of course, we had thought that the project would be complete by now. We had the previous temporary fencing removed, mostly to facilitate the painting of the tank, and so now it'll be a slightly larger perimeter. Again, this will be for a short period of time and removed. They are proceeding on the painting. This current crew that's not doing the final coat is slated to be worked until the 3rd week of July, in which case the new arts, they call them, the muralist that paints that decorative outer coating will start in the last week of July and work for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. So we think the total project will be complete with the extension of time here at the end of October. So we have substantial completion now at October 31st of this year. But we do anticipate this to be the last time extension. Things are going well. It's much more difficult to get that coating off than anybody ever thought. But we do have daily inspection through the weekend. So for any hours that the tank is being recoated. It's being verified, all the requirements are being verified, temperature, humidity, rainfall, thickness of the coating and things like that. So we're confident we'll have a good, durable coating that in the end, I think will serve us a very long period of time.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions or comments from the council? Others would entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The motion and second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francisco, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Next we have the city administrator's report.
4th of July, surprise. It's coming up. We had our meeting with the 4th of July committee. Few odds and end items have changed up this year. We have the time capsule that has been opened that people will be able to go visit and go see things about. So we have some road closures up there. I did note that with the Independent this week, so hopefully that will be in the paper for tomorrow. Also, pole vaulting has moved, so just making sure we have barricades and trash cans and other things in new areas, just to accommodate those. Fifth Street will still be closed for festivities and things going on at the brewery, so that will still remain in the normal format there. But everybody's getting ready. We're going out, doing street sweeping. We're also doing some mosquito spraying now that the temperatures are kind of laying in. We're starting to notice those. Some of those things are going on. Continue to work through budget, so we're doing some finalization. At the same time, I'm assisting a lot with the Consell utility billing issues. Trying to get that resolved with them, working on that on a kind of a daily basis now. Other than that, we'll just continue to move through the summer items and get ready for the big time budget stuff with you guys. So, I can answer any questions you have.
Any questions or comments for Greg?
No, I just wanna say thanks to all the city teams that give their time and energy towards the 4th. I know it's not their favorite thing to have to work through and be involved in all that holiday stuff, but it's appreciated by a lot of people.
Make sure if you see a police officer, you thank them. That's a lot of gear to be wearing on a usually pretty hot day standing over those bricks, so it's a big undertaking. And thank you to all of our partners. We have other law enforcement partners, volunteer fire departments, and everybody else that comes in on those days to assist and help out, so much appreciated.
Any other questions or comments for Greg? Otherwise, entertain a motion to accept.
Move to accept.
Second.
Motion and second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francisco, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
All right, do we have any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Seeing none. Jonathan, what's going on in Seward?
Thank you, Mayor. All right, so along with the 4th of July, of course, which I'll say a little more about in a minute, we have a tremendous amount of community festivals throughout Seward County this summer. You can keep in touch with those upcoming events. Encourage you to support friends across our county, and you'll be updated through our weekly electronic newsletter, the Blue River Buzz. An early happy Independence Day to you all. As we prepare to celebrate the 4th of July on Friday with 25,000 of our closest friends. And again, a reminder, we have the official event t-shirt is still for sale. They're going like hotcakes, actually. Saturday, July 12th is the 5th Street Summer Music Series. That's a part of our Seward Creative District, kind of a new thing in our town, but we're excited to get to host that at the city's band shell, so we're grateful for that partnership. And we have ambassador calls later this month. Multiple ribbon cuttings. Wednesday, July 16th, Plum Creek Seed Services is at 10 a.m. Riverbend Apartments, the new apartments over by Pack and Save at 11 a.m. DC Door Company, 2:30 p.m. New member of the chamber. That's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Jonathan. Next we have is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francisco, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Thank you all, have a great night, and have a happy and safe 4th of July.
Yeah.
What?